All right, for this webinar, we're going to be jumping through the code cleanup of certain parts of ARMS. So the back-end codes like your crime codes, the code list, dictionary synchronization, and the find and replace of the code list. We're going to be going through the mobile website, which I've got open right here, and we'll also be jumping into the desktop client because there are some differences between the two. Some have certain things that'll help you that the other one may not, and vice versa. So we're going to be going through both of those. All right, the first thing I want to do is jump into the actual crime and incident codes. If you're going through the web, to get to the setup menu, you've got this setup button down here. If that's grayed out, that just means that you don't have access to that. So you would have to get an ARMS admin to set you up with that permission. If you are an ARMS admin, then you can reach out to us and we'll show you how to set that up for yourself. All right, so we'll go to the setup menu, and then in here is going to be all of the backend codes that you'd be able to modify. We're going to first look at crime and incident codes. And I'll show you how to do that in the desktop side as well. So the desktop side, you'll open it up and you'll have this gray screen right here. You'll go to File and then Install Setup Code menu. Same thing, if this is grayed out, that means you don't have access to it. All right, that'll pop up the Setup menu up here, and you'll be able to click on that and then go down to the option that you want. One thing that a lot of people don't know, you can actually get to the web setup through here. So as long as you have your ARMS set up correctly, and if it's not, we can help with it, but you can go to the setup menu and then come down to web setup, and that'll open up that same screen we were just at, but in the desktop client. All right, so we'll go to setup, and then we'll come down to crime and incident codes. Okay, so you've got your crime and incident codes. We'll hit list so that you can see just the full list of them. Now, what we see from a lot of departments, I actually helped someone with this just the other day because their ARMS admin left, and that ARMS admin kind of had control over everything on the admin side. And whenever they left their department, no one knew what to do on the back end. And that's something we see a lot with departments where one person kind of has the keys to the castle and then they leave and no one knows what to do at that point. This is, this training right here is specifically for those types of people who may not know the back end of how to clean up their codes, but they want to now that there's time to do that. So what I always suggest with crime codes, with locations, with anything that you're cleaning up in the system, I always suggest the first thing you do is go through your codes and mark them as inactive if it's one that you don't need. A lot of people want to go in and just delete the codes that don't apply to their system, but something that you don't know is sometimes your dispatchers, your officers use codes that that you may want to get rid of. And the better thing to do in that situation is just to inactivate that code so that you don't completely get rid of it in the system, so that if you do need to go back, then you can activate that code. Making it inactive will make it so that officers and dispatchers no longer see that code whenever they're putting in CAD events or cases. So for an example right here that I do want to show you, I've got 2 aggravated assaults with firearms. So what I want to do is, okay, I want to get rid of one of those to make it more uniform in the system. So this one looks more uniform because it matches the other aggravated assaults, and this one doesn't. So what you want to do here is come to the one that you want to get rid of, modify it, and all you have to do is hit inactivate code. From there, if it's still related to anything in the past, so any cases that have that aggravated assault will still have that. It's just inactivated so that dispatchers and officers can no longer put that on new codes. All right, from there, what we always say to do is, well, it depends on what you want to do. From there, you just want to go through and inactivate all the codes that you want to get rid of. and just mark them as inactive instead of deleting them out. You can then come in here and you can click that hide and activate button, or hide inactive button, and then you can just look at codes that are currently active in the system. That way you can kind of go through here and just make sure that all the codes that you have are the ones that you want. We'll click show all just to show all of them again. All right. One thing I do want to show you on the website, if we come over here, there's two other features in here that kind of help with the code cleanup. So one thing in here is going to be the export button. You can actually export all of your crime codes so that you can, it'll export into an Excel spreadsheet, and that makes it easier for some departments to go through their codes, see what they want, see what they don't want. And once you hit that export button, it'll download a list of all of these crime codes. And I'll minimize this. I've already got one open right here. And this is what it looks like. It'll have your offense codes, your descriptions, classification, code section. Everything that's in that crime code setup is in here. These are all yes or no buttons, whether you want it to display in the event tracker or in case management, CAD. And from there, you can kind of go through and edit it to where you can sort by classification, sort by, you know, clery, or if you're going through and doing your NIBRS codes, clear by UCR offense, and just different ways to go through and just check and make sure all of your codes are set up that way. This won't change it in ARMS. This is more of a way to just look at it on your own and then go through ARMS and make those edits. So this is clearly, or this is only a visual aid to help you with what you're doing with the crime code cleanup. So if we come back to the mobile side, another option in here that you can do is this bulk edit. So say all of these assaults right here, and let me go back, all of these aggravated assaults right here are not ones that I want. I just want these to be inactive. I want them all to be inactive. You can come into bulk edit, choose the ones that you want to edit. You want to edit these 4, click edit. Now you'll see that it looks like a normal crime code setup with all of the information at the top and choosing where they display. If you see a checkbox next to anything, that means all of the codes that you've chosen. So the 4 aggravated assaults we have, they are all, you know, right now, this has a checkbox, so they're all marked as an active code. If you see a dash right there, that means only some of them have that set up for them. So that's going to mean that out of those 4, at least one of them has that and one of them doesn't. So if we come in and want to inactivate all of these, we'll just uncheck that box, click save, and now all of these that we go into are going to have that active code unchecked to make it inactive. So that's just sort of a way to go through and easily choose the ones that you want to inactivate. All right, we'll come back into the desktop client. The next thing that you would want to do is actually find and replace that code. So what I mean by find and replace is choosing the code that you want to get rid of and merging it into the other one. It won't completely get rid of that code, but it'll take, if I have any cases with this aggravated assault on it, I'm going to take that and replace it with this one. So any of those cases with this one is going to be replaced with that one whenever we do the find and replace. This is required anytime you have to delete something also. So this firearm aggravated assault, if I come up and try to delete it, which we'll go over delete a little bit later too, it's going to ask if I want to permanently delete it from the database. If I hit yes, it's going to say this crime incident is associated with other data. Deletion is not allowed. Try to replace it first. One, that's a good thing so that no one's accidentally deleting anything in your system. But it's also letting you know you can't delete this because you can't have in the database something in, like blank. So you would need to take all of the cases with this one, put it into this one, and then this one would be basically empty. It wouldn't be connected to anything, so you can delete it at that point. So you can do both of these or you can do the find and replace in either desktop client or the mobile client. But I want to show you in the mobile, if we go to setup and then find and replace right here. Right here, we're going to have our code category. So you've got all of the codes in the system, and if you do want to do one from the code list, you can go even deeper into that. So here's our crime codes. If we go to code list, then we can choose a category from the code list or a subcategory from the code list, then go into each code of that. We're just going to do crime codes for this one, and we're going to do change from. So I want to change all cases from that original firearm one, so this firearm AGG assault, and I want to change it to this one. So change from that one to that one. Then you'll hit replace. That'll go through the system and change anything with this code, the change from, to the change to over here. Now you'd be able to go in and delete that crime code, which I'll show you that later. We'll come back and delete this one at the very end of this session. I do want to show you the other crime codes though, too. So if you're doing this right now, what I always suggest and what we suggest is first going through and just inactivating them. That's your first step. Go through your crime codes, inactivate the ones you don't want, and then just kind of let it sit that way for a couple days. That way you'll know if a dispatcher or an officer does use that code and they say, oh, well, where's this one? Where's that one? It'll just sort of help you in that aspect. Or you can just leave them as inactive. That way, any cases or CAD events from the past still have it connected to it, but in the future, it'll be more organized the way you want it. All right, so we've got our crime codes. The next one is going to be the code list, and that's going to be kind of the bulk of any of your codes in the system. So if we come over to code list over here, kind of like what we just saw with find and replace code list, you've got your category and a subcategory. So one thing that I've seen a lot is the Cad disposition. So if we're looking for Cad disposition, where would we go for the category? The first one, I mean, obvious choice right here for Cad disposition. Let's go to Cad. And then the subcategory, there we go, Cad disposition. In here, I see a lot of just duplication, duplicate codes, and it's usually someone uses this one and then someone else uses this one, and you just have two codes in there. I would say, for mine at least, we've got the citation issued and then issued citation. We can remove one of those. So I'm going to remove issued citation. So we've got here, we'll modify, just mark it as inactive. Again, same thing as the crime code side. You can just go in there and mark it as inactive. And then if you want to, you've actually got a find and replace button within the code list. So if we want to say, I want to change this issued citation to citation issued, just like we did with the crime codes. So we'll hit find and replace. You'll want to find the one that you want to replace. Click on that. It'll move that CITA over here, and then we'll find the one we want to make it. So the same thing, this is the change from, and then the change to. So now we'll hit save, and that'll move everything from this one into this citation issued. Now we can delete this issued citation. So if we do delete, and this is very important, we never give anyone permission to delete right off the bat. So like whenever we're setting up your user access, or whenever you set up your user access, if you're using, unless you're using your own made template or something like that, we always have everything marked as cannot delete. We do that mainly so that if you do need to delete something, you as an admin can go into the user access and give yourself permission to delete something. So you'd be able to come over to user access, find your name in here, and then choose to be able to delete a record in whatever you're trying to delete from. Again, we don't suggest giving that to very many people. And we also suggest turning it off, so taking away your access after you delete something. That way it keeps from having any accidental deletions. But if you do want to go and delete something, you would first need to do find and replace if it's attached to something. And then you would come in to commands up at the top and then click delete. It'll always give you this warning letting you know that you can't come back from this. There is no undo button. There's no way we can do it for you through like the database or something like that. Once you delete something in here, that code is deleted and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's why we say be very careful about that. So we'll delete. Now that's removed and we only have one code in that system. Same thing with the crime codes. We'll go back there and I'll show you how to delete that. If we're looking at this aggravated assault firearm, if I want to try and delete this one, I'll try and hit delete. It'll give me that warning. I hit yes. It won't even let me because it's associated to stuff in the system, associated to a case or a CAD event. But remember, we did the find and replace for this one. So this one's going to be empty. If we come up to commands and hit delete, that will remove that crime code from the system. So no longer will we have that second firearm in there. All right. And we'll come back over to the code list right here. And the last part I do want to show you is the dictionary sync. So we'll come up to our category. And one of the ones that you can do with the dictionary sync is the vehicle color. So if we go to vehicle and color, I just want to point some of these out to you because they are going to help to understand what the dictionary sync does. The dictionary sync will go through your codes, and it's mainly only for NCIC and NIBRs. So if you're doing that, it's a way to connect your ARMS codes to match what NCIC has for vehicles and what NIBRs has for all of their codes. So NCIC has a vehicle color of black, and the code is BLK. I also have a black color in here, but the code is BLACK. So if I come in here and we go back over to the mobile website, first to set up your dictionary sync, you would come into setup, go to system defaults, and then right on the general page, you can scroll down and you'll see this dictionary synchronization setting. In here, you would use this address, and then you would have a username and password that we give you. If you don't have this set up in your ARMS, we can help to set that up with you. You can just email support@arms.com or give us a call at 1-800-776-6783, and then we can help you get that set up. We would need to make you a username and password in there to be able to get you set up with that. But once you've got that, as long as your IT is able to let your system reach out to the dictionary synchronization service, if they don't, then this won't work for you. If they do, then you can test connection and it'll give you a little checkbox right there. If you do need to reach out to your IT for that, we can help with that as well. And some departments will just let you do it one day, and then you sync up all your codes, and then they turn it off after that, and that'll work. All right, so once you've got it set up over here, we'll go back to setup, and then down at the bottom, you've got dictionary synchronization. All right, so we've got vehicle color in here. It says updating is not required because I've already updated them, but I made some modifications to mine to make it where it won't update. And I do want to show you in here, one of the first things that it does is checks to see if you have the correct code for your code, but if you have the wrong description. So if I modify this and change this to black color, and then come over to the dictionary sync portion of it, if I hit update, the first thing that it says is you have a conflict. So you've got the code BLK, but your description is black color instead of black. From there, you can click keep duplicate if you want to keep the black color, but we always just suggest hitting save so that it replaces it with the correct code right there. So we'll hit save. And this will move us to our next screen for the synchronization. This screen right here is going to give you every code in your system that is not, doesn't match anything. So if your code doesn't match what NCIC has right here, it'll pop up in here. Now, one thing you can do, first thing is default code right here. This is going to be where you can mark everything as unknown. That's what we always suggest. If you're trying to make your codes match the NCIC system, then you don't need any of these codes in here. You don't need any wrong codes, basically. So you'd be able to hit unknown and then just mark everything as unknown. You can also just go through here and say, well, this actually is a color. It just didn't, track it. So we'll want to change this to something else. So we'll change this champagne color to, maybe we'll just do it as white. And then same thing for any of these. So this one, we've got black dash black. This is the one I showed you that has the wrong code. So here we would want to go through and say, well, we'll match this to black. Then once you're done with that, you can hit save, and that'll update all your codes in the system. I've already done that because this does take about 5 or 6 minutes to go through them all sometimes. And once you do that, over here, it'll update all your codes in the system, and any that don't match, they'll be marked as inactive. So they will stay in here, but they'll mark them as inactive. And just like the find and replace code list works, it'll take all of these. So this amethyst purple, it'll take all of those and merge it into whatever new code you chose. So you can come in here and then delete that code out of the system. It's just sort of a quicker way to do the find and replace code list. It helps you with matching all of those up. Okay, so that is the main process. I'll go back to the crime incident code list right here because I do want to kind of ensure in you what the process that we suggest is. First, going through your crime codes through here and just marking any ones that you do want to get rid of as inactive. Some departments will stop at that point. They'll just mark them as inactive, and you don't have to do the cleanup at that point. That makes it so the officers and dispatchers see what they need to see. If you do want to go further with that, you will mark them as inactive, and then after that, you'll use the find and replace code list right here to be able to choose your crime codes and then change from whatever you want to get rid of, then change to what you want to keep. You'll run that for anyone that you want to get rid of. Then you'll come in and choose to go to commands, delete, and then you'll remove that code from the system. Again, I will say that delete is not something that we can undo. So if you are going to delete something, make sure that you want to delete that. Okay, so I'll bring this, or I'll leave this right here. We're going to go ahead and move on into the Q&A session. That's the main portion of it that we wanted to talk about. So let me go ahead and check out our participants. Again, if you do have a question, you'll click on the participants button at the bottom and then go over to the sidebar and click the raised hand button at the bottom. And then one other caveat, we do ask that everybody try and keep it down to one question per person until everybody's had a chance to ask one. Okay, so does anyone have any questions? I see Diane Sweeney here. Let me go ahead and, all right, Diane, you are unmuted.
Thank you. When you were showing us the crime incident on the mobile, you showed us where we could export the table, and it had all of the columns. I didn't see you do that in the client. Can you do that? Can you do that in client?
Yeah, so that is one of the features that's only in mobile right now. So the client doesn't have that.
Okay. Is there any way to get a template that would give me the information I want?
Now, you can export up here if you go to lists and then crime codes. You can export this list, but it doesn't have all of the same information.
Right, because what I'm trying to do is I have the state NIBRs that gives you different codes, and I'm trying to figure out what I've got compared to what I need to change. and this would be perfect, but I don't have mobile. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
I'll
you.
check on that. I thought you did have mobile, Diane, but if you need it, I can send this over right here. That'll have kind of the template of what all fields are in the crime codes.
But how do I get it out?
Well, let me check and see if you do have mobile, because I think you do. If not, then we can work on a different way to get it for you.
Okay, because I don't need everything that you've got here. What I'm looking at is to include something that will include the state NIBRS code.
Right.
You know, the crime description, crime classification. I forget the. Go back to the other one, please. The client version. Yeah, the offense code, description, classification, and then my state NIBRS code. I mean, that would be perfect. But
okay. Hey, and Stephen, go ahead and create a ticket. We'll go ahead and reach out to you, Diane, and we'll be able to get that for you, because I'm pretty sure you have mobile, and at that point, you'd be able to just delete any column that you don't want.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Diane.
Thanks.
All right, and then we got Ryan Graham right here. Ryan, you are unmuted.
Hi, Devin. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So what we're looking to do here at George Washington University is possibly create separate case management codes and separate computer-aided dispatch codes. So the ones that are in there now, we obviously wouldn't want to inactivate. We'd still want them to be able to use on the case management side. So is it my understanding that we could just unclick the display this crime code in computer-aided dispatch and create separate computer-aided dispatch codes?
Yes, that is right. We actually do have a lot of customers that do that, where from what I've seen is a lot of departments will have dispatchers just have, like maybe for a burglary, they would just have forcible and non-forcible burglary, but then the officers will have to put in whether it was burglary under $500 or over $500, and that's not necessarily something a dispatcher would know whenever they're putting that call in. So for your question, yeah, so that is exactly how you would do it. You can even see mine set up right here, where I have a classification of dispatch where they're only checked to display in the computer-aided dispatch.
Gotcha.
And then
so
for
all
the ones below
existing codes could stay. We wouldn't have to inactivate them. We could just create separate codes that would only be for dispatch.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, no problem. All right, Cassandra, let me unmute you. Hey, Cassandra.
Hey, Devin, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. So on the code synchronization, and I was on the colors, and then I'm sorry, the extraneous codes, when that list comes up. So if you don't want a code in there, for some reason, like for color, it comes back with Toyota. But how would I mark that? Because I don't want a new code assigned to it.
So what you'll want to do in that case, up here as the default code, you'll have an unknown, and you'll want to mark all of these as just unknown. So any of the ones that you don't want, you'll want to mark as unknown. And then this will kind of work as like a find and replace. So it'll take all of these codes that are marked to go, and then it'll push anything connected to those into unknown. From that part, or from that point, then you would need to go in and delete those codes, because they'd be empty at that point.
Okay. So, excuse me, how would I know? I got to make the list myself to know which ones I need to go back in and delete?
So at the end of this, I'm not going to do this click save just because it'll take a little while, but at the end of it, it'll have a button for print report. That'll show you all of the codes that it modified.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Cassandra, is yours still raised from here? Let me unmute you. Cassandra, did you still have yours raised from last time?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Gotcha. No problem. All right. And then Natasha. All right, Natasha, you there?
Hey, Devin. My question is, the two examples you gave, firearm aggravated assault versus aggravated assault firearm, you did the find and replace. Is there any, are we able to, or is there anything against just relabeling the code you already have entered in the system, like renaming it
No,
versus adding
definitely
a new
not.
one, then find and replace?
And now if you, this is more for if you already have two duplicate codes.
Okay.
So just removing that second duplicate. If you do want to change the name of this, then you're definitely welcome to do so. Just be aware that it would change the name for, it would change the name everywhere. So any cases or CAD events that it's attached to, it would change the names in those too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, no problem. All right, and then Eric. All right, Eric, you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Occasionally we'll have a problem where somewhere in the ARM system on one of the modules, there's a code that officers decided to use or haven't used, but they don't like, they want to add something to that list. Sometimes it's really hard to figure out where that particular field is. Do you have a cheat sheet that tells me? Because when you go to the setup and the miscellaneous codes, sometimes it's hard to figure out where that miscellaneous code is going.
These codes, yeah, these codes right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, we don't actually have any kind of document that goes through specifically where everything is, but I can go ahead and make a ticket to where we can make something like that. And then we would just be able to post it on our support site so that anybody on this call would be able to access it.
Because I know I have called a couple times, and I'll tell you what field I'm looking for, and y'all will figure out where it is and let me know. But you know, if we just had a sheet.
Yeah, a cheat sheet. I think that's a great idea. And I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and make a ticket for it, and then I can even send it to the group of everybody that signed up for this, either signed up for this call actually, and just send it to everyone that was invited to this call.
That'd be great.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Eric. All right. And then we've got another one from David Flaherty. All right, David, you there?
Can you hear me okay?
You're a little quiet, but I can hear you.
I just tried to do the export for the crime codes, and I'm getting an error message. It says an error occurred. Please contact the administrator. Is there anything special that has to be set up to be able to export?
Not that I know of. It may be maybe some kind of permissions or something like that. But Stephen, I'll go ahead and get him to set up a ticket for you so we can reach out to you.
Okay, thank you.
For sure. All right, no problem. All right, thank you, David. All right, and then any other questions? Okay, Natasha. Hey, Natasha.
Hey, Devin. Sorry, not just the question about the codes particularly, but I'm just looking online. Do you know if it's in the works to be able to hide the inactive on the web?
The web currently doesn't have that. I know that we are working on it, but right now the hide inactive is only in the client.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Any other questions? All right. It looks like there aren't any questions right now. Okay, here we go. Ryan Graham. All right, Ryan, you there?
That same thing that he was talking about, the error, I also got that same error when I tried to export. So.
Okay, gotcha. Stephen, same thing with Ryan Graham at George Washington.
Yep.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ryan. All right. And then, all right, Natasha, you there?
Devin, sorry. I don't know if you're taking a list, but I got an error as well. This is the file format and extension of crime code don't match.
Okay, gotcha. So here, we'll go ahead and do this. Anyone who does get an error whenever they're exporting the crime codes or something like that, just go ahead and email support@arms.com, and then we'll be able to reach out to you with the resolution on that. All right. Any other questions? Okay. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. If you do have any questions, go ahead and email support@arms.com, or you can always call 1-800-776-6783. I saw someone ask this question a little bit earlier. If you do have anyone that tried to sign up for this webinar in your department and wasn't able to, we are going to be posting this video recording within the next week, so you should expect an email with a link to the video. Just like the email with the invite, it'll look exactly like that, except it'll have a link to the actual video for you. And just to kind of keep you guys aware, we're going to be having these webinars pop up all throughout the month and actually all throughout the summer. So just keep an eye out for an email, and that'll have an invite to the next webinar. And other than that, we should be good to go. I'll go ahead and let all of you guys go. Everybody stay safe, and I hope that everybody has a good rest of the day. All right, thank you guys.